The most dangerous promises are the ones you never remember making. Lily Harper stared at the cracked screen of her old phone as the glowing neon sign outside the diner painted red and blue reflections across the rain-covered window. It was exactly 2:13 in the morning, the end of another exhausting 14-hour shift. Her feet ached, her coffee had gone cold, and the small pile of tip money beside the cash register barely totaled $38. Rent was due in 3 days, her electric bill remained unpaid, and her refrigerator at home contained little more than a carton of milk and half a loaf of bread. Even so, when the elderly customer in booth 6 realized he had forgotten his wallet, Lily quietly paid for his breakfast without expecting anything in return. The grateful smile on his face somehow felt more valuable than the money she had just spent. Her coworker Megan watched the exchange before shaking her head with a laugh. "You are going to stay broke forever if you keep doing things like that." Lily smiled while pulling on her worn navy coat. "Maybe, but I would rather lose a few dollars than let someone go home embarrassed." Megan picked up Lily's phone from the counter and tapped an unfamiliar application. "Then at least let somebody buy you dinner for once." Lily raised an eyebrow. "A dating application? One conversation will not hurt." Lily sighed before opening the application. She casually swiped through dozens of profiles filled with vacation pictures, gym photos, and rehearsed jokes that all looked strangely identical. Nothing caught her attention until one profile suddenly appeared. The photograph showed an extraordinarily handsome man standing beneath antique street lamps on an empty cobblestone street. His skin looked unusually pale beneath the moonlight. His long black hair rested across his shoulders, curling gently at the ends. His silver eyes carried a calm expression that seemed impossibly old. His name simply read Adrian. No age, no occupation, no location. His biography contained only one sentence. Night owl. Old soul. Looking for the woman who can hear my dead heart. Lily frowned. That is either incredibly romantic or incredibly strange. Megan leaned closer and laughed. Honestly, I cannot decide which one. Lily intended to swipe past the profile, but her thumb slipped across the screen. A bright notification immediately appeared. It is a match. Lily blinked in surprise. I did not even mean to. Before she could finish speaking, another notification appeared. Good evening, Lily Harper. I was beginning to wonder if you would ever find me. Lily stared at the message. That was fast. She cautiously typed a reply. Lucky guess. 3 small dots appeared instantly. Then another message arrived. You finished your shift exactly 4 minutes ago. Your coffee became cold nearly an hour earlier. You skipped dinner again. Lily slowly looked down at the untouched paper cup beside her hand. A quiet chill moved across her shoulders. She typed carefully. How could you possibly know that? The answer appeared almost immediately. Because I have watched this city every night for longer than most buildings have existed. Lily forced herself to laugh, convinced someone was playing an elaborate prank. She slipped the phone into her pocket, said goodbye to Megan, and stepped outside into the cool spring rain. Streetlights reflected across the wet sidewalks while the city grew quieter with every passing block. Halfway home, her phone vibrated again. You always choose the longer street when you are worried. Lily stopped walking. She had never told anyone about that habit. Slowly she turned around. The street behind her was completely empty except for falling rain and distant traffic. Another message appeared. Please do not be afraid. I have waited much longer than you have been alive. Lily swallowed hard before typing 3 simple words. Who are you? The reply appeared instantly. Tomorrow night. 11:30. Crimson Hour Restaurant. Ask the doorman for Adrian. She searched the restaurant immediately. No address existed. No reviews appeared. No map recognized the name. When she returned to the conversation, every previous message had disappeared without explanation. Only one sentence remained glowing softly across the cracked screen. Some hearts continue beating long after time forgets them. The mysterious sentence remained on Lily's phone long after she reached her tiny apartment. Some hearts continue beating long after time forgets them. She read it again before locking the screen. When she unlocked it only seconds later, every message except that final line had disappeared exactly as before. She tried deleting the application entirely. The icon vanished for a brief moment before quietly reappearing in the exact same place. Lily stared at the screen in disbelief. "That is impossible," she whispered. She restarted the phone, but nothing changed. By sunrise, she had convinced herself exhaustion had blurred her judgment. 14-hour shifts, unpaid bills, and too little sleep could make anyone imagine strange coincidences. She slipped the phone into her pocket and returned to the diner for another long day. Morning customers filled every booth. Office workers hurried through the doors carrying laptops. Parents ordered pancakes for sleepy children before school. Lily greeted every guest with the same warm smile despite the growing weight on her shoulders. Her landlord called twice before noon, but she silenced both calls, promising herself she would find a way to pay before the week ended. During the lunch rush, the same elderly gentleman returned with his forgotten wallet. He thanked Lily again for paying for his breakfast the previous night and insisted on repaying every dollar. Lily accepted only the exact amount she had spent. When he quietly tried leaving an extra $50 bill beneath the coffee cup, she hurried after him across the dining room and gently returned it. "You already thanked me," she said with a smile. "That is enough." The gentleman looked at her with genuine admiration before quietly leaving. Her manager watched everything from the counter. "You keep turning down opportunities to make life easier." Lily laughed softly. Kindness should never become a business transaction. The afternoon slowly faded into evening. Rain clouds gathered once again beyond the large front windows, turning the sky a deep shade of blue-gray. As Lily finished wiping the last empty table, someone tapped gently against the glass. She immediately looked up, expecting another late customer, but nobody stood outside. The sidewalk remained completely empty beneath the streetlights. Her phone vibrated. Good people continue choosing kindness even when no one is watching. Lily felt the same quiet chill she had experienced the night before. She unlocked the screen. Another message appeared. "You returned the money." Lily quickly turned toward the front door. No cars had stopped outside. No pedestrians walked past the diner. She slowly typed a reply. "Were you watching me?" 3 small dots appeared without delay. Then came the answer. "I have watched this city through storms, celebrations, and generations. Tonight I happen to be watching you." Lily stared at the words for several long moments. Instead of sounding threatening, they carried an unexpected loneliness. She opened Adrian's profile once more. His calm silver eyes no longer seemed mysterious alone. They seemed burdened by memories too old to describe. Another message arrived. "Please come tonight." Some truths deserve to be spoken face to face instead of through a screen. Lily looked around the nearly empty diner before slipping the phone into her pocket. She quietly told herself she would ignore the invitation. She would finish work, go home, and forget the entire conversation had ever happened. Yet when her shift finally ended at 10:45 that night, she found herself standing in front of the small closet inside her apartment, carefully brushing wrinkles from the navy coat her mother had given her years earlier. She looked into the mirror, took a slow breath, and whispered with a nervous smile, "This is either the worst idea I have ever had, or the beginning of something I cannot possibly explain." At exactly 11:15 that night, Lily stepped out of her apartment building and into the cool spring air, pulling the familiar navy coat tightly around her shoulders. The streets glistened beneath fresh rain while distant traffic echoed softly between rows of brick buildings. She opened the navigation application one final time and typed the name Crimson Hour. As before, nothing appeared. No address. No business listing. No customer reviews. She sighed quietly and almost turned back toward home. Her phone vibrated. Instead of a message, a single golden arrow appeared against a black screen, pointing toward a narrow side street she had passed hundreds of times without ever noticing. Curiosity slowly outweighed common sense. Lily followed the silent direction, walking farther away from the bright downtown lights until familiar neighborhoods gradually gave way to older streets lined with historic buildings. The sounds of the city faded behind her. Even the air felt different, calmer somehow, carrying the faint scent of cedar and rain instead of traffic. After nearly 15 minutes, she reached a cobblestone road illuminated by elegant antique lanterns. She stopped in complete confusion. She had lived in the city for years, yet she had never seen this street before. At the far end stood an extraordinary stone building crowned with tall arched windows glowing with warm golden light. Above polished black doors hung an antique bronze sign engraved with two simple words, Crimson Hour. Lily instinctively looked behind her toward the modern city, but the busy avenue had disappeared beneath a blanket of drifting evening mist. It was as though the old street had quietly separated itself from the rest of the world. Luxury cars rested silently along the curb, their polished surfaces reflecting the lantern light. Well-dressed guests entered the building one after another without raising their voices. Nobody laughed loudly. Nobody hurried. The entire scene carried the quiet elegance of a gathering that had been repeated for generations. Lily suddenly became very aware of her inexpensive shoes and worn coat. She considered leaving before anyone noticed her. Just as she took one step backward, the massive front door opened smoothly. A distinguished older gentleman wearing an immaculate black overcoat greeted her with a warm smile. "Good evening, Miss Harper." Lily froze. "Do I know you?" He smiled politely. "Not personally, but we have been expecting your arrival." Her heartbeat quickened. "You know my name? Our host requested that every courtesy be extended to you." Without another word, he gently opened the door. Wider. Lily hesitated before walking inside. Warm candlelight immediately surrounded her. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead while soft violin music drifted through a magnificent dining hall, unlike anything she had ever seen. Marble floors reflected the golden light like perfectly still water. Fresh white roses decorated every table. The gentle scent of old wood, polished stone, and candle wax filled the air. As Lily removed her coat, conversations across the elegant dining room slowly faded into silence. Every guest turned toward her at exactly the same moment. No one looked angry. No one appeared surprised. Instead, they watched with quiet recognition, as though they had spent years waiting for someone they had never met. Lily forced a polite smile, suddenly wishing she had trusted her instincts and stayed home. A graceful hostess approached with calm confidence and offered a respectful nod. "Miss Harper, welcome. Our host has been waiting for you." Lily swallowed nervously. "Who exactly is your host?" The hostess's gentle smile never changed. "His Majesty." Before Lily could ask another question, the hostess slowly turned and gestured toward a pair of towering oak doors at the far end of the candlelit hall. Standing alone beside a table prepared for two, illuminated by moonlight pouring through floor-to-ceiling windows, was the pale man from the photograph, calmly watching her with silver eyes that somehow carried both endless patience and unmistakable relief. The graceful hostess slowly opened the towering oak doors, and Lily stepped into a private dining room unlike anything she had ever imagined. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the sleeping city, while countless lights shimmered beneath the clear midnight sky. A single round table had been prepared beside the glass, illuminated by elegant candles whose gentle flames reflected across polished silver and crystal. Standing beside the table was Adrian. He looked exactly like the man from the photograph, yet somehow even more remarkable in person. His black tailored suit fit with effortless elegance. His unusually pale face seemed almost luminous beneath the candlelight. His long black hair rested neatly across his shoulders, curling softly at the ends. His calm silver eyes followed Lily with quiet warmth rather than suspicion. He inclined his head respectfully. "Good evening, Lily Harper." His voice was deep, steady, and unexpectedly kind. Lily stopped several feet away, uncertain whether she should smile, leave, or demand an explanation. "You are actually real," she said softly. A faint smile crossed Adrian's face. "I have always been real." Lily folded her arms, trying to steady her nerves. "Your messages were certainly an unusual way to introduce yourself." Adrian nodded. "I owe you an apology for that." The honesty in his answer surprised her. "You do. I knew it would frighten you. I simply did not know another way for you to notice me." He gently motioned toward the empty chair opposite him. "May I invite you to dinner?" Lily hesitated before taking her seat. She immediately noticed something unusual. There were no menus anywhere on the beautifully arranged table. Before she could ask, a waiter quietly appeared carrying 2 glasses of sparkling water. Without either of them placing an order, the waiter carefully set the glasses down, offered a respectful bow toward Adrian, and disappeared as silently as he had arrived. Lily looked toward the doorway in confusion. How did he know exactly when to come in? Adrian calmly lifted his glass. Everyone here has excellent timing. Lily smiled despite herself. That sounds like a carefully practiced answer. A brief moment of comfortable silence settled between them while candlelight danced across the polished table. Outside, moonlight stretched across the skyline, making the city appear almost timeless. Lily finally asked the question she had been holding back since the first message appeared on her phone. Who are you? Adrian did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked thoughtfully toward the windows before returning his attention to her. Someone who has spent a very long time waiting for the right conversation. Lily raised an eyebrow. That sounds mysterious enough to avoid answering. Adrian laughed quietly, the first genuine smile she had seen from him. You are observant. I am also curious. Adrian slowly extended one hand across the table. A beautifully crafted silver ring rested upon one finger, engraved with delicate ancient symbols unlike anything Lily had ever seen. Then allow me to show you something instead of asking you to believe me. Lily looked at the offered hand for several long seconds. Every sensible instinct warned her not to touch a stranger she had only known through impossible messages. Yet every instinct that had brought her to Crimson Hour whispered that leaving now would mean never discovering the truth. She slowly reached forward. The instant their fingertips touched, the room fell completely silent. The enormous grandfather clock beside the fireplace stopped exactly between two chimes. Every candle flame gently leaned toward them, although no breeze entered the room. The silver ring on Adrian's hand began glowing with warm golden light, illuminating every ancient symbol carved into its surface. Lily immediately pulled her hand back, staring at the impossible sight in disbelief. At that exact moment, every conversation beyond the private dining room came to an abrupt stop. Soft footsteps echoed through the hallway outside as though dozens of people had begun walking toward them together. Adrian lowered his eyes to the glowing ring, and for the first time since Lily had met him, genuine surprise appeared on his calm face. He looked directly at her and quietly whispered, "This was never supposed to happen tonight." Lily instinctively pulled her hand away. Yet the warm golden light flowing across Adrian's ancient silver ring refused to fade. Instead, the delicate symbols engraved into the silver became brighter, as though they had awakened after centuries of silence. Neither of them spoke. Beyond the private dining room, the approaching footsteps stopped just outside the closed doors. Lily looked at Adrian, searching his face for an explanation. "What just happened?" she whispered. Adrian lowered his gaze toward the glowing ring before looking back at her with an expression she had not seen before. The calm certainty that had defined him all evening had been replaced by genuine surprise. "Something I believed could no longer happen," he answered quietly. Before Lily could ask another question, the towering oak doors opened without a sound. Four elegantly dressed men and women entered together, each wearing black formal clothing embroidered with subtle silver patterns. Their movements were graceful, almost perfectly synchronized. As soon as they stepped inside, they respectfully bowed toward Adrian. "Your Majesty," the eldest woman said calmly. Lily looked at Adrian in complete disbelief before turning back toward the visitors. "They keep calling you that." Adrian met her eyes without hesitation. "Because it is the truth." Lily laughed nervously, waiting for someone to smile. No one did. "You are serious?" "Completely." Silence settled over the room. The eldest council member then turned toward Lily with unexpected warmth. "Miss Harper, welcome." Lily folded her arms. "Apparently everyone knows who I am except me." The woman smiled kindly. "Tonight has answered questions our people have carried for generations." Lily looked from one unfamiliar face to another. None of them seemed hostile. Instead, they regarded her with quiet curiosity and sincere respect, making the entire situation even harder to understand. Adrian stepped toward the moonlit windows overlooking the city. Silver light outlined his unusually pale face while thousands of lights stretched across the skyline below. "Lily," he said softly, "there is something I should have explained before inviting you here." She remained where she stood, uncertain whether she wanted the answer. "Then explain it." Adrian slowly turned back toward her. "The application was never created for ordinary dating." Lily frowned. "Then why does it exist?" Adrian glanced briefly toward the glowing ring before answering. Centuries ago, my family created an ancient covenant to search for one extraordinary soul. As the world changed, the covenant adapted. What once appeared through handwritten invitations eventually found a place inside modern technology. Lily stared at him. You are telling me a 700-year-old promise became a dating application? It became whatever people trusted enough to answer. Lily shook her head slowly. And it was. Searching for me. Adrian's voice remained calm. Yes. Lily looked down at her inexpensive shoes and quietly laughed in disbelief. You have the wrong person. I am a waitress who worries about rent every month. Adrian answered gently. Those describe your circumstances. They do not describe who you are. The eldest council member stepped forward carrying a beautifully carved wooden box decorated with silver symbols matching Adrian's ring. She carefully placed it upon the table. Before anyone touched it, the lid slowly opened by itself. Inside rested an aged folded letter protected beneath clear crystal. Adrian carefully lifted the letter and unfolded it. The elegant handwriting remained perfectly preserved despite its age. He silently read the opening lines before his calm expression changed once again. Lily noticed immediately. Who wrote it? Adrian answered almost in a whisper. My mother. More than 300 years ago. Before Lily could speak again, her phone vibrated inside her coat pocket. She slowly removed it. The mysterious application had opened on its own. Adrian's profile had disappeared. Every photograph had vanished. Only a single line of glowing golden text remained across the cracked screen. Welcome, Queen Candidate. The glowing words remained on Lily's phone long after the room had fallen silent. Welcome, Queen Candidate. She locked the screen, unlocked it again, and found the same message waiting for her without changing a single letter. Her heartbeat grew louder. There has to be another explanation, she whispered. Adrian stepped closer but stopped several feet away, careful to respect the space between them. If another explanation exists, I have spent centuries searching for it. Lily looked up at him. You cannot honestly expect me to believe that a dating application selected me because of an ancient promise. Adrian answered without hesitation. No. I only ask you to believe what you witness yourself. The eldest council member gently cleared her throat. Your Majesty, the archive chamber has requested your presence immediately. Adrian gave a slow nod before turning back toward Lily. You may come with us if you wish. Phew. Prefer to leave, no one here will stop you. Lily stared at him with surprise. You are giving me a choice? Adrian smiled faintly. A choice given freely has greater value than obedience. The answer caught her completely off guard. Every strange event that evening suggested unimaginable authority, yet the man everyone called king refused to demand anything from her. After a long breath, Lily slipped her phone into her coat pocket and quietly followed Adrian through another set of ancient corridors illuminated by warm lanterns instead of electric lights. Magnificent paintings lined the marble walls. Kings, queens, scholars, explorers, and forgotten cities filled every frame. Lily slowed before one enormous portrait dated 1784. The man standing beside the throne looked exactly like Adrian. That is you, she whispered. Adrian glanced toward the painting. Yes. Lily looked at another portrait farther down the corridor. The same face appeared again beside a different ruler nearly 100 years later. You have not changed. Adrian answered calmly. Time has changed everything around me instead. They reached an enormous circular chamber hidden beneath the mansion. Thousands of tiny silver stars decorated the domed ceiling, while towering bookshelves surrounded polished marble floors. At the center of the chamber stood a massive stone pedestal supporting an ancient leather-bound volume larger than any book Lily had ever seen. Before anyone touched it, the heavy cover slowly opened by itself. Blank pages turned one after another until they stopped precisely in the middle. Elegant golden letters gradually appeared across the empty parchment. Every member of the council watched in respectful silence. Adrian stepped beside the pedestal and quietly read the message. Lily searched his face. What does it say? Adrian looked toward her with calm honesty. The archive recognizes your arrival. Lily swallowed nervously. Why me? Before Adrian could answer, the eldest council member spoke gently. Yesterday you paid for a stranger's breakfast. Today you refused extra money because gratitude was enough. Those choices were seen. Lily frowned in confusion. Anyone could have done that. The council members exchanged quiet glances. Adrian slowly shook his head. 7 centuries have taught me that not everyone would. Lily lowered her eyes, uncertain how something so ordinary could matter inside a place filled with ancient history. At that exact moment the archive turned another page without anyone touching it. Fresh golden writing appeared much faster than before. Adrian carefully read the new message, and the peaceful expression on his face disappeared. Lily immediately noticed the change. What happened? Adrian slowly closed the ancient volume and looked toward the enormous entrance doors of the chamber. Somewhere beyond them, a distant bell echoed once, then a second time through the silent halls. He met Lily's eyes again before quietly speaking. The archive has issued a second summons. It says another woman has also been identified as a queen candidate, and she is already on her way here. The second bell echoed through the ancient chamber before fading into complete silence. No one moved. The council members exchanged uncertain glances while the golden letters upon the archive slowly dissolved into blank parchment once more. Lily stood motionless, trying to understand how a life that had revolved around rent payments, double shifts, and tired mornings had suddenly become connected to a centuries-old mystery. She looked toward Adrian. Another queen candidate? Adrian answered quietly. That is what the archive declared. Lily searched his expression. Is that supposed to happen? He slowly shook his head. Not once in the 700 years my family has guarded this covenant. The eldest council member gently closed the ancient volume before speaking with calm respect. Your Majesty, perhaps the covenant itself is correcting something we misunderstood. Adrian remained silent for a long moment before giving a thoughtful nod. Perhaps. Together they left the archive chamber and entered a magnificent circular reception hall beneath an enormous glass dome. Moonlight streamed through the crystal ceiling, illuminating a breathtaking mosaic of silver stars and delicate golden lines across the marble floor. Lily paused as she looked downward. Something about the pattern felt strangely familiar. Adrian noticed immediately. You recognize it? Lily nodded slowly. I have seen this design before. Adrian smiled faintly. It became the symbol hidden inside the application. Lily looked around the vast hall in amazement. So the application copied this place. Adrian answered softly. Technology changes. Ancient promises simply learn new ways to reach people. Before either of them spoke again, the towering entrance doors slowly opened. A cool breeze drifted into the hall carrying the fresh scent of rain. A young woman stepped cautiously across the threshold wearing an ivory coat over simple everyday clothing. She appeared close to Lily's age. Her fair skin, chestnut hair, and calm blue eyes revealed more confusion than fear. She stopped only a few steps inside before looking around the enormous hall. Someone told me to come here, she said quietly. My phone kept sending messages that disappeared every time I finished reading them. Lily instinctively looked toward Adrian before turning back to the newcomer. You received the same messages? The young woman nodded. They started yesterday. She slowly removed her phone from her pocket. At the exact same moment, Lily's own phone vibrated. Both women looked down together. Matching golden symbols briefly appeared across both screens before dissolving into a single sentence. Welcome to the covenant. A quiet murmur spread through the gathered council. Lily stepped forward with a gentle smile. My name is Lily Harper. The young woman returned the smile with visible relief. I am Grace Bennett. Adrian observed the two women carefully, his calm silver eyes reflecting curiosity rather than judgment. Before anyone could continue the conversation, the golden lines woven into the marble mosaic beneath their feet slowly awakened. Soft light spread outward in graceful circles until it connected Lily, Grace, and Adrian within one perfect pattern. The entire reception hall glowed with warm golden radiance. Every council member stared in astonishment. The eldest woman quietly opened one ancient journal after another, comparing the living symbol beneath them with illustrations preserved across countless generations. She eventually lowered the final book and looked toward Adrian. Your Majesty, there is no record of anything like this. Adrian slowly lifted his eyes from the glowing floor to Lily and Grace standing together within the same circle of light. Even after 7 centuries, the ancient king realized he was witnessing something no history had ever prepared him to understand. The golden circle beneath their feet continued glowing with quiet warmth, filling the ancient reception hall with light that reflected across polished marble and towering pillars. Lily looked down in amazement before raising her eyes toward Grace. Neither woman appeared interested in claiming anything for herself. Both stood silently inside the living constellation, united more by confusion than ambition. Around them, members of the council hurried toward shelves lined with weathered journals, carefully comparing the glowing pattern beneath the floor with illustrations preserved across hundreds of years. One by one, each ancient volume was gently closed. None contained anything that resembled the living design surrounding them. The eldest council member slowly approached Adrian, her calm expression touched by genuine wonder. "Your Majesty, there is no record of this formation anywhere in our archives." Adrian continued studying the glowing symbols before answering quietly. "Then tonight history begins with an empty page." Lily glanced toward him. Even after centuries, he seemed less frightened than curious. That calm steadied her own anxious thoughts. Grace finally broke the silence. "I still do not understand why I am here. Yesterday I spent the evening helping children choose books at the community library. Then my phone began sending impossible messages from someone who knew things that no stranger should know." Lily looked at her with surprise. "You work at a library?" Grace nodded with a modest smile. "Every afternoon after my regular job. The children always stay longer than they should because they never want the stories to end." Lily smiled gently. "I understand that feeling." Adrian quietly observed both women before asking, "Tell me the last decision each of you made before accepting the invitation." Lily answered first. "I paid for breakfast for an elderly customer who forgot his wallet, and the next day I refused extra money because helping him already felt like enough." Grace looked down thoughtfully before speaking. "I stayed after closing time because one little girl wanted me to finish reading the final chapter of her favorite book. Everyone else had already gone home." Silence returned once again. The golden light beneath the marble floor quietly brightened after each answer. Several council members exchanged astonished glances. The eldest woman slowly smiled. "The covenant is not responding to status or power." Adrian nodded almost imperceptibly. "It is responding to compassion freely given." Lily looked around the magnificent hall. "So this was never about finding the strongest queen." Adrian answered gently. "Strength may protect a kingdom, but kindness determines whether that kingdom deserves to endure." At that very moment, the unfinished tapestry hanging behind the ancient throne shimmered softly. Every eye turned toward it as silver threads began moving without human hands. The woven image of a solitary queen standing beside a king gradually disappeared. In its place emerged 2 women standing beneath the same moon while the king faced them with one hand extended in welcome instead of command. No one spoke. Grace whispered almost inaudibly. The tapestry changed. Adrian slowly approached the ancient fabric, studying details that had never existed before this night. He turned toward Lily and Grace, his silver eyes carrying humility instead of certainty. "For 7 centuries my family believed destiny would reveal one queen. Perhaps destiny was never asking us to choose a ruler. Perhaps it was asking a king to learn that compassion cannot be possessed." Before anyone could respond, 2 council members carefully carried the archive into the reception hall. The enormous book opened by itself once again. Fresh golden letters appeared across the waiting page in elegant script. Adrian quietly read every word before a peaceful smile slowly crossed his face. He gently closed the ancient volume and looked toward Lily and Grace. "The covenant has spoken. It says the future will never belong to the one who seeks the crown. It will belong to the hearts that choose kindness before they choose power." The first rays of dawn slowly replaced the silver glow that had filled the ancient reception hall throughout the night. Warm sunlight streamed through the great glass dome above, blending gently with the fading golden constellation beneath the marble floor until every ancient symbol settled into peaceful stillness. Lily stood quietly beside Grace, no longer feeling like an ordinary waitress who had accidentally wandered into a forgotten kingdom. Across from them, Adrian remained motionless for several moments, looking at the completed tapestry that now displayed 3 figures standing side by side beneath the same moon. 7 centuries of tradition had changed before sunrise without a single battle or command. The members of the council lowered their heads in respectful silence, understanding that history itself had quietly rewritten one of its oldest promises. Adrian slowly removed the ancient silver ring from his hand. The engraved symbols shimmered softly one final time before returning to ordinary polished silver. He walked toward the marble pedestal supporting the archive and carefully placed the ring beside the ancient book. A quiet murmur spread through the council. Lily looked at him with surprise. "Why are you leaving it there?" Adrian smiled with calm sincerity. "Because symbols should serve truth. Truth should never serve symbols." The eldest council member stepped forward and respectfully bowed. "Your Majesty, the covenant has changed everything we believed." Adrian nodded. "Then we must have the courage to change with it." Lily looked around the magnificent hall, remembering the tiny apartment she had left only hours earlier, the unpaid bills waiting on her kitchen table, and the cracked phone that had somehow become the doorway to another world. She laughed softly to herself. "Yesterday I was worried about rent. Today I am standing inside a hidden kingdom that should not even exist." Grace smiled warmly beside her. "Yesterday I thought the strangest thing in my life was a disappearing message." The 2 women shared a quiet laugh that echoed gently beneath the enormous dome. Adrian watched them with unmistakable gratitude. "Neither of you came here seeking power." "That is exactly why the covenant answered." As though responding to his words, the archive slowly opened by itself one final time. Its pages turned without anyone touching them until the final blank sheet rested beneath the morning light. Elegant golden handwriting gradually appeared across the parchment before the entire council. The eldest woman carefully read the message aloud. "The oldest promise is fulfilled when power learns to follow compassion, and every kingdom endures only when kindness becomes its strongest foundation." Silence returned once again. But this silence felt peaceful rather than uncertain. Adrian gently closed the archive and looked toward Lily. "Your life remains your own. Nothing here will ever be forced upon you. If you choose never to return, this kingdom will still remember you with gratitude." Lily looked into his calm silver eyes before smiling. "And if I choose to return?" Adrian's expression softened. "Then you will always be welcomed as a trusted friend of this kingdom, never because destiny demanded it, but because you freely chose the path before you." Lily looked through the towering windows toward the city awakening beneath the morning sky. Somewhere beyond those distant buildings stood the little diner where another long shift would soon begin. Somewhere people would hurry to work, worry about bills, drink hurried cups of coffee, and never realize an ancient covenant had quietly found its true purpose before dawn. She slipped her cracked phone into her pocket. The mysterious application had disappeared completely, leaving only the ordinary home screen behind. Some stories, she realized, were never meant to remain inside a phone. They were meant to change the people who lived them. As sunlight filled the ancient hall, Adrian, Lily, and Grace stood together beneath the new tapestry, not as strangers bound by prophecy, but as ordinary hearts, connected by compassion, proving that even the oldest kingdoms could discover a new future when kindness became stronger than tradition.